Are you ready for some high school football?
Welcome to Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve.
And it starts right now.
And now it's time for football in Plainsmen Football with Steve and Steve.
Somebody fire me up!
Hello and welcome to Plainsmen Football 2016. I'm Steve Keim along with Coach Steve Hayes. We appreciate you joining us once again, and it's our privilege each week to talk Plainsmen football. Plainsmen dropped to 1-3 on the year with the loss to Putnam City West, a score of 35-10. I believe, Coach, it was 14-10 at halftime. You had a kind of a last-second great momentum builder with a field goal with 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds to go before half, and it makes that 14-10. And then there was a second half to play that didn't seem to kind of cooperate. So what's your thoughts on the overall view of the game?
Yeah, I'm pleased. Last 2 weeks we've finished the half well, but for some reason we're not getting it done in the second half, and especially the fourth quarter of our games. Even the game that we won against Ponca City, we did not do well in the fourth quarter, and so we got to find a way to finish. Which, the funny thing, our theme this year is finish the fight, and that seems to be our challenge right now. Thought our defense played a whole lot better this past Friday night. I don't think the score indicates really how well they played and did, against a very, very talented offense. You look at the athleticism, the height, and the skill of the kids that are on Putnam City West offense, the experience. They returned so many starters from last year's team. I think our defense played exceptionally well. I think our offense probably needs to improve considerably from their performance. I think that's one area that we didn't even run the ball all that well. And so there's a lot of areas to work on offensively, but defense did a good job keeping us in the ball game this past week.
Well, Putnam City West scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. So, Coach, you take those 14 points away. It's a lot closer ball game that you're mentioning.
Sure.
But it's amazing how some big plays can really change the momentum of a ball game, but also can add fuel to the fire for the other team to keep on pressing harder.
Well, when you play a team that's as gifted at receiver as Putnam City West is, you don't want them to have too many opportunities, because eventually those kids are going to start making plays. At some point in time, the young man that's committed to Memphis, Nick Robinson, the 6'5" receiver that they had, is going to make a play because he's the best athlete on the field, and so you want to limit their opportunities to do that. And I feel like part of the problem was the defense played too many snaps in the second half because the offense wasn't driving the football and scoring points like we needed to be, where we could limit those opportunities. And I think there at the end, he had a couple nice catches for touchdowns that. Hope it would have been better if the offense would have been on the field at that time instead of our defense having to play as much as they did.
And sometimes the best defense is having your offense out there controlling the ball and keeping the scores off. But you do know with the talent, because you saw this team last year, you saw how well the quarterback and the receiver worked together.
You bet.
And you knew that, okay, this is going to be second edition this year.
You bet.
Because they're going to be bigger and stronger, and yet they performed that well. 35-10. But what can you take away? Say on the positive side, Coach? I know it's difficult, and you might have to really look under things to see, okay, this was positive from our game. But is there anything you take away?
Apart from a couple positions, there was a lot of kids that played really well. We played a whole lot better last Friday night than we did the week before against Bishop McGuinness. Offensively, we literally would have one thing on a play that would cause a play to be unsuccessful, where the other 10 kids were doing exceptionally well, and it was, it wasn't the same kid over and over again, but literally was one position potentially that kept a play from working. And so, on offense, it's important that everybody's executing well, especially when you're playing a very, very athletic team, because they magnify your mistakes when you make them because they are so good. And so, the windows aren't as big when you play a team like Putnam City West, so it demands a greater execution rate. And I think our execution rate, believe it or not, was actually much better than a week before. It's just the athleticism and the fact that one particular person in any given play didn't play up to what we needed to have happen caused us to struggle for the most part that night.
Thank you for joining us on Plainsmen Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. I'd like to remind you, and we haven't done this, but if you have a question for the coach as we do the show throughout the football season, you can send me an email at steve@enid.org. That's STEVE at enid.org. Send an email. I'll make sure the coach gets it. We talk at least twice, maybe once, 3 times a week or whatever, and I'll make sure the coach gets that question, and we'll address it on the show. Again, it's STEVE at enid.org, and we'll get that question answered for you. Coach, we're getting ready to move into the highlight section of the show, and appreciate your coaches because, after hours, after the game, they're looking at film and sorting the highlights and stuff like that. Before we show the highlights, what's the viewers going to see?
Defensively, we're going to see a couple great plays by our secondary. Dalton Dyson has a nice interception defending the Nick Robinson kid on a long throw. Takes a great angle, makes a great catch on a big third down play. Defense did a better job of getting them off the field on third down this last Friday night, which is one of the things we worked on last week. And then there's another great break on a ball by Jay Sears on the goal line, almost a pick six. Just a great anticipation of a throw. Great tackle by Trent Musa on an outside run play. He shoots the gap and takes the legs out of the offensive running back, number 24, great player as well. And then offensively, you're going to see a couple great runs by Will Phillips. So you can really see his speed on one against a fast defense. And
he's still a sophomore, right?
And he's still a sophomore, yep. And then Mason Scrimmager had some nice catches and runs on the perimeter. Mason was our leading receiver Friday night, and you'll see a couple different plays where he catches the football and does some good work with it.
Very good. Well, again, thank you for joining us on Plainsmen Football 2016. Now, one of the features of the show is to look at the highlights from last week's game, and we'll look at those right now. Welcome back to Plainsmen Football. Thank you for staying with us today. We appreciate the opportunity each week to talk Plainsmen football in all aspects with you, and hope you enjoyed the highlights. We appreciate, Coach, the feature that we're able to do that, and I know you have coaches put that together for us, and then we get it into our production. So thank you for making sure those highlights are available, because
it's fun for people to be able to see.
We like to see those plays over and over.
You bet.
Again and
again.
Again.
You watch them enough, you wonder how you could ever lose.
That's
all
right.
Good. Yeah.
Well, this is a special segment that I enjoy each week. It's the introduction of the student athlete, and to my right is Colton Troxell. Colton is a senior, and he's also a receiver and also plays corner on defense. Colton, welcome to the Enid Television Network studio. We appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
As our featured student athlete, Coach Hayes, what can you tell us about this guy?
Well, I'm excited to have Colton here this morning. He's a 2-year starter for us since I've been here, and he's played multiple positions, very athletic, got a lot of skill, and has a lot of dynamic ability both to our offense and defense. He did a good job of covering one of the best players in our district last Friday night, Nick Robinson. He was one of the guys assigned to that duty and really played well. And it's had some big plays for us in offense as well. Had our first touchdown of the year. If the officials hadn't messed it up and called it back against Guthrie, he's the one that caught that pass and scored. And so he's just and a lot of fun to coach. He's got a great personality and he just always making us laugh, which is good too. Colton, it's good to have you here. Introduce yourself to the folks and tell them about your position. And
Well, my name is Colton Troxell, and I play corner and receiver, and I like playing football.
Excuse me, Colton, what's your number? So people, after they watch the show, they'll write down the number. And
I'm number 2.
Number 2. That's right. That's exactly right. Well, Colton, talk a little bit about how you feel like you've improved since last year in the off season and how that's affected the season for you.
Well, I think I've got a lot more integrity as a teammate and really there for all my teammates this year like I wasn't really last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my hands have gotten better. I've got more strength and conditioning for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've pulled duty of being kind of a two-way player for us, and at that position, that's a lot of running because the corners and receivers they do a lot of run, a lot of miles. And I would agree, you really have improved as a receiver. Your route running as well has really improved considerably, and you've become one of our top threats. I'm really excited about the work you've done and the great attitude that you've had. What aspects of school, since you're a senior, are you going to miss when you graduate next year?
I'm going to miss being around my coaches and teammates for the most part. I mean, I'm going to miss school too, but just because I get to see all my friends and stuff. But
What other things are you involved in besides just football?
I play baseball too. I pitch and play center field for the baseball team.
Colton, as far as our football team this season and you personally and individually, as we get into the meat of district and play chalked on some teams that we can compete well with over the next couple of weeks, what do you feel like we need to improve on and how do we need to get better?
I think we need to improve on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, not just one or the other. I mean, we have to be a unit all together, offensive and defensively.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like everybody wants to be there and plays hard to the best of their ability, but
You personally, how do you want to improve over the next couple of weeks?
I mean, get better every week, find something to get better at and get better at it.
Absolutely. Colton, you're going to graduate next May, and you're going to go out into the big world. I know you're a hardworking guy and a good thinker. What do you feel like you're going to do when you graduate, and what are you going to pursue after you're done with your high school career?
I'm going to try to play sports. If that don't work out, then go to college and get an education.
There you go. That's a great answer.
School is never out, right, Coach?
No, it's a lifetime of learning. There's no doubt about that.
Colton, I'm going to ask you a question as we close out the student-athlete segment. For those individuals that are watching the show and maybe they haven't been involved in team sports before, can you explain what are you going to take away from the fact that you play offense and defense and baseball, but you're playing in a team sport atmosphere? What are you going to take away from that experience?
Teamwork is dream work. I mean, I'm going to take away a lot of integrity and a lot of discipline. Yeah.
Including memories, right?
Oh, of course, memories. Lots of them.
Lots of them.
You know, Colton has mentioned how he feels like he's grown in his integrity over the past year, and I think it's really reflective on his attitude, his work ethic, and the contribution he's making to the team this year. That's not something you typically hear a young man say they've grown in over the course of an off season a year.
Sure.
But it definitely, his maturity level definitely has reflected that he indeed has grown in that way, and I appreciate it. It makes it a lot of fun to coach him.
Very good. Colton, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Number 2, Colton Troxell. You'll see him on both sides of the ball, on receiving end and also defensive back on the corner, if you will. And that's our student-athlete feature for this week. Thank you for joining us on Plainsmen Football. And now we're going to take this opportunity to meet more of the Plainsmen Football members, if you will, and we'll do that right now.
Mason Scrimmager, sophomore, quarterback, wide receiver.
Orion Tafoya, senior, receiver.
My name's Logan Harrell. I'm a sophomore, and I play linebacker.
Kyler Bridenstine, sophomore, center.
Garrett Lane, sophomore, defensive tackle.
Welcome back to Plainsmen Football 2016. I hope you enjoy the segments that we have for you, where we introduce the student-athlete of the week to you, but also the highlights as well. And then I really enjoy that during our breaks we have the opportunity to really introduce you to some of the players. You know, it's real easy to sit in the stands and just see a number on a young person, and they run on and off the field. But you have the opportunity to meet them with their helmet off, and they can face the camera and introduce themselves. So we're glad we're able to do that for you this year. Well, this guy hangs out in our studio all the time. Coach Cameron Condor, he's been here numerous times before. Just kidding. He's only been here a couple times. But it's always, Coach, welcome back. Appreciate what you do for the young people. And
Thanks for having me.
thanks for being with us today. And Coach Condor is still working with quarterbacks. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And also, I guess your official title would be the offensive coordinator.
Yes, sir.
So overall, how are things going?
You know, we're definitely not where we want to be.
Yeah.
We have to keep improving day in and day out, and you know, get the small things fixed, because it's not big problems. It's small things. You know, 11 guys working in concert together to achieve one goal. You know, that's why you know, I call football the ultimate team sport. You know, 11 guys got to do their job on every play.
That's true, because if one person misses a block or penalty, it just kind of cancels all the effort of the 10 other guys, and that's the tough part about football. But it's also the good part when everybody works together and it's clicking together like an engine. Coach Hayes?
Well, Cameron, you're now in your second season here at Enid, and so you've seen just about every phase of the growth and progression of our team. You know, kind of assess where we've come and really where you think our next steps are, in particular offensively.
You know, the one thing that I see as a program where we're at is that just the camaraderie and unity that our kids have together, even through the struggles. Last year we had some of the same struggles, but we were a little bit more divided. Like this morning, for example, you know, I think our kids still had a good spirit about them, which is obviously encouraging as a coach. When you can see kids that truly want to get better, like Colton said earlier, you know, he said the word integrity a number of times, which as a coach who works directly with young people, when kids see that integrity matters,
Yes.
it definitely makes the losses and even the wins seem very minor in detail, because they're actually getting the big picture.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I was so impressed with our kids' body language and work effort this morning in the weight room, given the fact that everybody was very disappointed about the last 2 weeks, and it encouraged me about this week. Talk a little bit about what it's like to coach quarterback, what's unique to coaching that position.
The one unique thing about coaching quarterbacks is you don't necessarily have a unit. You have an individual that his job is to distribute the ball to the other skilled positions on the field, and so you have to be selfless, because ultimately your title is to ensure that these guys get the ball at the proper time, and in the right position to be able to make successful plays. You know, make something out of you know, what we've drawn up, execute it.
Well, Coach, from a personal standpoint, how have you and your family enjoyed your move to Enid? I know your wife's teaching at Glenwood, and your younger son is a Raider right now, and so you're completely immersed in the community now.
You know, actually, we've you know, year one was a little bit of a struggle, because you know, just the change in geography, moving's hard. But I do know that my wife made a comment the other day. Shannon said, you know, just plan on being here for a while. She knows that I don't like to sit still for very long, whether it's, you know, she actually made the comment, you know, in 20 years of being married, we've moved 14 times.
Wow.
So I think she's ready to settle down. So we actually love Enid. You know, we stay busy enough that, you know, as the older you get, places are places. So we're happy to be here. And, you know, I love where I'm teaching at. Teach over at Hayes Elementary. I love Lynn Murphy. She does a good job running that campus. And so you know, Shannon's you know, very content with her job. She's going to school to get her second master's in psychometry. So we're looking to, dig some roots here.
That's great. That's great.
Well, Coach Condra, thank you for being with us today on Plainsmen Football. Again, serving as quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to come back anytime and talk Plainsmen Football.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for staying with us on the show with Steve and Steve. We'll have more Plainsmen Football right after this.
Ryan Sanchez, Jr., linebacker.
Peyton Phillips, Jr., outside linebacker.
My name is Seven Owens, sophomore, wide receiver and corner.
Lincoln Sefcik, Jr., wide receiver.
William Phillips, 2019, running back.
Welcome back, Coach. I appreciate you taking time to conduct these interviews, but because it gives me a chance to kind of sit back and watch and really listen. And I really enjoy the opportunity to meet some of the student athletes, but also seeing your coaches again, because I know it's all a big part of a family.
It is.
Sure, it is a team, but it's a very much a big part of a family. Coach, I know your core values are integrity, mental toughness, discipline, accountability, and love one another. And you see that MDAL, you'll see that on some of the coaches' shirts from time to time. Mm-hmm. And you also have the emphasis on character qualities, and that's one of the things that I really admire about your heart for the young people is development and character. And you mentioned earlier that this week that emphasis is on stewardship. Mm-hmm. Now, when I think of stewardship, oftentimes I think of, being good stewards of what you have. A lot of times it's tied to money.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Sometimes in a tithe kind of setting, or just being a good steward of what you've been given. Good health, you do something worthwhile with your health and all the resources you have. Explain to us how you're tying in stewardship now with the student athletes that you have.
I think it's important for us as human beings, especially people of integrity, to realize we've been entrusted with a lot of things. We've been entrusted with gifts and talents, responsibilities, people depending on us, and it's important to understand that you have a responsibility to be a good steward of those things, whether it be a piece of property or a relationship with another person, or to be a starter on a football team. I think that is a position that you have to be a good steward of, or you lose that opportunity. And there's other people depending on you to have good stewardship of that position in order for them to be successful. And I think it really teaches us as people that what we do not only impacts us, it impacts the whole world around us. And we have an obligation to recognize that and to live in such a way that our impact is a positive one. We want to leave a positive footprint when we're gone.
Well, I always look forward to hearing what your character focus is of the week, because I really, again, admire that the coaching philosophy focuses on character development as well. Yeah. Because, parents they're instilling stewardship, or hopefully we want them to, and other character qualities. But the fact that you take it a step further and tie it into athletics and also within the school is a very admirable character.
Thank you. It's pretty important to do it that way.
Well, okay. Putnam City West is behind us. We move forward to the Yellow Jackets of Choctaw. Choctaw Yellow Jackets. That's coming up. So you'll be on the road. You travel to Choctaw. They're just north and east of Oklahoma City. I believe Choctaw stands at 2-2, and they're 0-1 as well in district play.
Yes.
They lost to Putnam City North in kind of an offensive battle. I think it was 36-32 of their ball game last Friday. So what do we know about Choctaw?
Well, I think there's a group of teams in our district right now, Choctaw, ourselves, Deer Creek, Stillwater, Putnam City High. Those are a group of teams that look to make a separation in that pack and find themselves in the top teams of the district. And so this is a big game for us. And Choctaw traditionally their kids play hard. They're kind of a blue collar, get after it, physical team. I think physically they're not anything like what we saw last Friday night, but I think schematically and how their kids play, they're well coached, and their kids have a lot of pride in playing. They have given up a lot of points defensively, and so we hope to be able to take advantage of that offensively as well. And they've scored a lot of points in their offense, and so they seem to be kind of stronger on the offensive side of the ball. Right now, we're a little bit stronger on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup works out. Defensively, they're a 3-3, and then offensively, they're more of a spread, split receiver. They like to run the football out of that type of offense.
Do you find the teams that you face, or I guess my question is, what similarities do you find in teams? Or is each team so uniquely different that you just have to start over square one in preparation? Or is there some similarities, these teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think teams reflect the personality and the training of the coaches and their philosophy and what they believe in. And so there is unique, specific differences each week that you have to try to identify. The other differences are in athletic talent, where we're not as concerned about the wide receivers this week because they're not 6'5",
right,
and they don't run 4.5s, but they're still good players. We're still going to have to defend them, but we had such a huge emphasis on staying behind and on top of those guys last week, where this week the emphasis is probably going to be a little bit more run-oriented, as well as continuing to improve on the intermediate passing game and being able to cover that.
The thought behind my question is I've noticed a trend in college and even professional football that you'll see more of these no-huddle offenses, even in college.
Yeah.
Even the schools who always had a huddle are now calling the play at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And so you see that transformation.
Yeah.
And then there's even pro teams that have moved away from the huddle and calling the play.
Well, I think anytime something works, people gravitate towards it. There's very few original ideas in the game of football. It's just a recycling of things that have already been done. And it's highly possible in the next 10 years you'll see some type of under center option game again, just because people have kind of forgotten how to defend that, and you cycle through to the next thing. But there's definitely right now an attempt to spread and use the entire football field with your personnel and have the ability to throw into those spaces that creates, where 15 years ago it was more about gap integrity and running the football between the tackles.
And as someone who plays the game, I think you can talk to different ball players. There's a mindset when you're way out on the edge and it's one-on-one, that is a totally different game than when everybody is grouped together. You feel like you have some help there. But when you're out there by yourself on the island and you have to guard that person, it's a little bit different.
Well, and the other thing, too, is there's things that are good out of each type of set and philosophy, and there's other things that aren't as good. And so you're always giving up something to do something else. And I think that's why you see so much evolution in the sport.
Yeah. Well, again, the Plainsmen travel down to Choctaw this Friday night for again 7 p.m. kickoff.
7 p.m. at Choctaw High School. That's
okay.
Correct.
So we look forward to the Plainsmen playing well as they take on the Choctaw Yellow Jackets this Friday. Thanks for staying with us on Plainsmen Football. We'll have our closing comments with Coach Steve Hayes right after this.
Trevor Rubley, linebacker, M-I-Z-Z-O-U.
Again, we appreciate the opportunity to be with you each and every week and to talk Plainsman football. Coach, here we go. That's the way it goes, right?
Yes, sir. No turnover, take care of the football.
You're on the road to Choctaw. So it's going to be, what's the preparation like? Because it's going to be, a game on the road.
We haven't been on the road in 3 games, and so it's we're going to have to refresh our memories on how we ride a bus and how we pack and how we mentally prepare. I think in some ways it's good to go on the road. It makes you closer as a team. You share a meal after the game, and so it ought to be a good week. Looking forward to a good outing this Friday night.
Well, Coach, I'm out and about in the community quite often in the work that I do at the City of Enid, and I hear a lot of praise and a lot of comments about you, your staff, and what's going on, despite the so-called win-loss record right now, but we know good things are down the road. So
well, I appreciate that. I'm grateful for people's patience, and we are trying to make these young men better men. We'll do that every day, no matter what happens.
Very good. Well, we'll see you Friday night, then we'll see you back here in the studios, and we'll talk Plainsman football again.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us on Plainsman Football 2016 with Steve and Steve. Until next time, make it a great day.
Thank you for watching Enid Plainsman Football with Steve and Steve on ETN.